Welcome back, you guys. Now, today's video is a little bit different because I actually have bought a new stock today. Well, actually, the new stock will be bought by the time that you see this video, and that stock is going to be Chipotle. All right. Now, it's very interesting on how I ended up picking Chipotle. First of all, I actually picked Chipotle because I recently went into a Chipotle. And one of the things that I saw was that they had a big burrito for just $10.95. Now that to me was a crazy amount of value. That amount I had this whole time I had been thinking that Chipotle was selling their burritos for maybe $12, $13, $14 maybe. But to find out that they had a value item like a 10.95 on the menu, that was amazing. You know why that's amazing? Because that tells me that if the company is being profitable, being able to sell chicken burritos, huge burritos at 10.95, that they can increase the prices more. They can increase this to maybe $12, $13. Hey, I would still buy. I would think it's still worth it compared to what's out there. When you go to a restaurant meal right now, you're basically paying $15 flat out fee for any dish that you can think of, essentially in the San Francisco Bay Area that I am in. Now, not only was the burrito just amazing, one thing that I loved about eating at the Chipotle was the taste. Like when you bite into the chicken, you could actually taste taste that it's real chicken. It doesn't feel like a processed food that I sometimes feel when I go to a competitor, right? Sometimes I go to a different company and it feels like, man, this food doesn't seem too healthy. It seems like it's been there for a while. But with Chipotle, I actually feel like it's fresh. Another observation that made me want to invest in Chipotle. A long time ago, pre-pandemic level COVID era, when I went to a Chipotle, they used to have a ton of staff. Now I only saw three people running the store. And with the news of the new avocado robot that they're gonna come out with, where it's a robot that's gonna be making the avocados. It's apparently a very difficult job. I don't make avocados myself, but to have less expenses and have the ability to increase their cash flows by raising the price on this chicken burrito or increasing more stores, that would be I see the bull thesis on Chipotle. Now, not only that, something that I also noticed was with Chipotle, all the locations of Chipotle that I know of are in pretty darn good areas. And good areas, what I mean by that are areas where there is a lot of foot traffic, a lot of Gen Z, Gen Alpha, millennials, because that is their main customer base. I can't think of a Chipotle location that is not in one of those heavy traffic areas. They usually set it up next to a school. For example, the one that's closest to me is close to San Francisco State University. I know another one that is close to a high school. They are picking pretty darn good locations. And the growth model, I believe in it. I see it. Now, talking about finances, talking about what they can do financially. I look at their revenue models from 2010 to 2024. Now, when you look at this revenue model, it's pretty much a straight line. All right, that's what I like to see. I don't want it to see something go up too much, something going down. I love to see consistent, predictable revenue line. Now, you might notice something happened here. All right, and that is 2016. You might be wondering, whoa, 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 what happened in 2016? That is essentially the E. coli issue that they were having. Now, can another E. coli hit Chipotle again? Absolutely. I just think that they're a little bit more used to it. They have the experience to handle that type of issue. And I'm taking the risk that management is gonna do everything in their power to prevent another E. coli outbreak. And then in 2020, all right, you might be wondering what happened here. This is the COVID era, and not only that, this was the time period where they're investing a ton into their mobile app, the mobile orders, and actually ended up paying off for them because now they can make mobile orders and make it a little bit more efficient to order at Chipotle. I love this revenue model here. Now, not only just the revenue model, I want to take a look at their margins. at Chipotle Mexican Grill, operating margins. How are the margins doing? And just like again, the margins are going up over time. I do like that a lot. Again, with 2016 dropping in because of those um, less revenue due to E. coli issue, and then again 2020 dropping again due to its building up the mobile app and also COVID shutdowns. But as a result, I like the model that they're becoming more efficient, right? Less expenses, less staffing, I see, and they have the ability to either increase the price on their burritos. I always thought it was like $13 or $14 burritos, but the fact that it's $10.95, people will definitely pay a little bit more for that. I do believe in that. I don't think people will rebel against that. There are some ways for them to organically build up their revenue model. Now, not just the revenue model, I also wanted to take a look at the cash flows. All right, now cash flows is interesting because during this cash flow, something that kind of caught my attention. 2016, I know about. 2020, I know about. But 2022, you see the growth here? It's a big jump in 2021, but all of a sudden in 2022, there's a huge dip here in growth, cash flow growth. I ended up doing some research on 2022 because I don't remember a specific big issue in 2022, and I wanted to make sure this type of issue. How likely is it to happen again? I went on Google, Google Gemini, and one nice thing I just love about this Google Gemini is that it kind of gives you a breakdown summary of what happened. Essentially, this part I just realized is the supply chain issue and the labor shortage. During that time, there definitely was a big spike in inflation. A lot of their items, the dairy, the essentially almost all of its ingredients, they tried to pass on some to customers, but then they also had to eat up some of those additional costs. Hence, in 2022, their cash flows were a little bit lower than their typical years. I am totally okay with that. In 2022, I know that not only just Chipotle, there were a ton of other restaurant businesses that were also struggling with the inflation issue. Now, when I take a look into the stock, I also take a look at this price point right now. Yes, it is trading at almost one of the most expensive PE ratios. The PE ratio is currently at a 57 PE ratio. However, I totally understand it's overpriced. I look at the stock price point right now. Most recently it fell off by 16% in the 3 months valuation, and the 3 months. The main reason why it dropped off, any big changes that I saw, is essentially the CEO change, where Brian Nichols he went from Chipotle to Starbucks, and to me, it did not deserve that big of a drop for me. I think it's a pretty good price point to enter in for myself. By the time you see this video tomorrow, I would have already bought into Chipotle. I don't have it in my portfolio right now, but by tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon, I will be buying into Chipotle. Now, one nice thing that I really like about this Robinhood thing is currently I have a buying power of $457. All right. Not only that, I just realized I'm getting 4.5% interest rate on that money. That's one of the nice things that I do like about Robinhood. I have the Robinhood Gold. Maybe that's why it does it. I paid essentially a one-time annual fee of $60 to get a Robinhood Gold. Now, in other news that I wanted to discuss was about the Fed rate cuts. All right. Last a couple days ago, I did make an opinion piece that I thought the Fed was going to be cutting by 25 basis points, and as a result, we would have more optionality for the Fed. Because when you do it by 25 basis points, for the next rate cycle, you can do it by another 25 basis points, you could do by 50 basis points, whichever you'd like. But by doing another 50, I thought that the November one essentially has to be 50 basis point cut as well. Because if you start going, you do the 50 in the first one and you do a 25 basis points in the second one, that seems a little bit like worrisome. Like, hey, why are you slowing down? Because one of the issue with a 50 basis point hike that I saw is what does happen if we get an inflation spike again. The federal Jerome Powell, he cannot be increasing rates, decreasing rates like per each meeting. Like you gotta stick to a particular particular play in mind. You can't be playing around with the rates. This month we're going to increase it, next month we're going to decrease it. That cannot happen. I was wrong in my opinion that I thought about. And as a result, I actually thought we would have a red day. One of the reasons why I thought we would have a red day if we got a 50 is because the last two times we got a 50 basis point cut, but one in 2000, right before the 2001, and also another one in the year 2007, the stock market reacted very negatively to those two 50 basis points. I thought we would have another negative reaction. However, that did not happen. So I was incorrect in that particular opinion. I did buy more today. I bought a little bit of Microsoft and a little bit of Google. Now, am I complaining that my stocks went up? Of course not. Right, and that would be a little bit crazy. I just wanted to make a point that there are certain times where I could be wrong as well, and you do not want to make blind. You don't want to follow my trades blindly because I could definitely be wrong, and this is just one of those proofs. I'm definitely not complaining about it. I'm pretty happy the stock market went up. My net worth went up. However, I do enjoy making these type of predictions or opinions with myself that I like. One of the things that did surprise me about the Rivian, I'm sorry, about the rate cuts was the stock Rivian. All right. When we have a 50 basis point cut, I expected Rivian to respond positively. And the reason why is because companies like car companies, solar roof panels, those type of companies that require financing or leverage to buy their products. Like most people, when they buy, for example, like a Rivian or Tesla car, most people typically get an auto loan, right? They don't just typically straight up buy it with cash. Whereas, for example, a different company, like say McDonald's, most people don't borrow money to go into McDonald's. They usually just buy it straight up, right? It's a different thesis. So the rate cuts really impact car companies because the rate cuts can make a huge difference in their price point. And I actually thought if we had a 50 basis point that these car companies would have respond very positively. Unfortunately, that was a surprise for me. Again, I was wrong on that part. I'm happy to admit it. It happens sometimes, and there are times where I'm correct. There are times where I'm not correct. That's why I never tell people what to do with their own money. However, when it's with my own money, I'm happy to tell you and be transparent with you guys on what I'm doing with my own personal money. And then the third news that was a little bit interesting for me is not only that, Amazon is telling their employees to return to the office 5 days a week. That's basically the same amount of time I go into the office myself. So I go into the office 5 times a week. It is not that bad. I'm going to be very honest with you. It is really not that bad. At least for me. As a bank manager, I love my work, and it's a different feeling. I can't train my employees. I can't teach them valuable skills in at home as compared to in person. In person, I have a lot more ways to improve my teammates. Have that coaching session with them. With this Amazon news, I am being told that a lot of Amazon employees are not happy. They're not happy. They're threatening to quit. They're probably going to quit. And I thought to myself, like, wow, what an amazing idea that freaking Amazon pulled off here. Because this reminds me very similar to Meta's year of efficiency. However, Meta had to pay severance packages. But with Amazon, by having employees quit on their own, no severance package. So your expenses are getting lower. The current employees will be doing more work. Essentially, the company is going to be a little bit more efficient. Now, if Amazon does need to hire more office workers, I'm gonna be honest. I don't think they're gonna have an issue finding office workers. All right, I have a family member that works at Amazon. They are being fairly compensated. I don't think anybody would have an issue to work at Amazon. Sure, it's gonna be more work, but are you fairly compensated? I would think so. All right, it's not. I don't think people would be uh, unhappy about the pay. I think Amazon, if they needed people, they'd be it'd be easier for them to find office workers. Now, not only the employees going to the office 5 days a week, they are also going to be flattening their corporate structure by having fewer middle managers in each organization. I like this a lot. I mean, they are able to, they're just cutting expenses, right? Because a lot of these employees, they do have stock options. They have a high salary. And this way, Amazon is becoming more and more efficient. I see lower expenses, I see lower stock options, and as a result, when you have lower expenses, typically your cash flow should be increasing, your profits should be increasing because you have less expenses. The one last thing I wanted to mention before ending the video is that currently I did on my TikTok, I mentioned I would be buying two stocks. So Chipotle is one of the stocks. The other stock, I will have to make another separate video on another day. But it is also a company that I think has potential for a long-term hold. And when it comes to Chipotle, it is a little bit different than my current holding of Microsoft, Costco, and Google because Chipotle is going to be a lot more volatile. It's a lot smaller of a company. It's a very different industry altogether. I don't see myself holding Chipotle for decades to come. I can see myself holding Chipotle for years to come, but it's not, I don't think if it's a company that I'm going to be holding for 4 decades, 3 decades. But who knows? It could always change. And thank you so much, you guys, for your support, for watching. I hope you learned a little bit new. I hope you find some of the information entertaining. And I will see you on the next video. Thank you very much.